Talking teams we haven't talked about yet on this week's episode of the pod. I'll also share my raw, real scouting notes from this weekend's North South Showcase. Rankings are updated, and then I've got a slate of 12 games for games of the week where you can get into the action and make your picks as well. So hit the subscribe button and be sure to follow along with all the action with me all season long right here on the PD's Picks podcast. And let's talk some hockey, shall we? So I put a blog out on pdspicks.com earlier this week, sharing some of my thoughts from the North-South Showcase this past weekend, but wanted to go through all of my notes here on the pod. I think I only scratched the surface there with the blog, which I can actually link in the description below. Now that I think about it, I'll throw that in the description for you guys to check out if you want. But obviously going to go into a lot more detail here on the podcast. A bit of a funny story. So I was getting ready for the weekend for the showcase, and I printed out my custom made scouting sheets where I could write in line combinations and D pairings and track blocked shots and in the whole nine. I got a little custom little spreadsheet I put together, and I printed out 24 game sheets for 24 games, right? And I was good to go. I had my bag packed. We get to the rink, get up there for game one, pull my sheets out, didn't have a pen. So obviously a very small minor detail. Could have borrowed a pen from someone, could have got one from the rink, could have brought one from the hotel. There were ways I could have amended that situation, but instead I just went digital. I went 2026 here, people. I took my notes on my phone, which is I mean, it works. It was not ideal. I don't like taking notes on my phone because then you're looking at the play, looking at your phone. It's easy to get distracted, I feel like, with your notes on your phone. But nonetheless, made do and maybe adapting to the times there a little bit with notes on a digital device there. But let me preface this too real quick as I go through all my notes. I could go on and on about the Luke Storms and Aiden Cooks that were in action over the weekend, but I've been talking about these guys since August. Your heavy hitters, your big players, your Mr. Hockey candidates, your top scorers on teams across the state. This weekend, though, I just watched for guys that jumped out to me. Who was making the little plays that stood out and caught my attention? Outside of the usual suspects from your top 5, top 10 teams, your Donovan Durbins, Nolan Binks of the world, and things like that. So maybe there's a few top guys in here in that, and I'll make note of as we go through. But there's also a lot of sleepers here in my notes, guys who didn't even record a point over the weekend, but had a good game or a good couple shifts that really stood out to me. And I want to call them out and give credit where credit is due. So let me pull up my notes here real quick. We'll literally unfiltered. I'll just go right down the list of my notes here. Thursday night, got to catch the Cap City Midland Dow game. And what first things that jumped out to me, obviously, Ty Inglis looked sharp in goal. A couple scramble plays there where he was battling, tracking the puck super well. Looked really good. And it was kind of funny. I was sitting there talking with a Midland Dow parent, and she's like, wow, this goalie is really good. You know, he's something. He's this and that. And I kind of snickered. I said, man, you know he's their backup, right? She was like, what? Her eyes about fell out of her head. Couldn't believe that he was their number 2 there in net and Cap City, obviously with 2 great options in goal with Inglis and then Sean Story, obviously one of the best goalies in the state. So yeah, Inglis got the nod there on Thursday and then also got the win over Midland Dow. A couple other caps that stood out for me. Nolan Reiber flashed some real nice stick work, puck work with the puck on his stick. Some silky moves to get by defenders off the rush. Real creative there in transition as well. Last one here, an obvious one. Dan Hansel, a Czech foreign exchange kid, by the way. Didn't know that. That was news to me. He had not 1 but 2 really nice flashy goals attacking off of the rush. slipping past defenders one on one and then tucking them past the goalie with a nice finish. I think he finished the weekend with like 3 or 4 goals there in the 2 games at the showcase. So, real good showing for him as well. Team's leading scorer. And maybe I called him out a little bit to a degree heading into the showcase where I said, if he gets going, this team can get going. And then, sure as shit, he scores a couple goals and the Caps come away with 2 wins. So, on the other end of things, Midland Dow, Caden Nemeth, great individual effort. Shakes a guy on the wall with a change of direction, right? He's heading down the boards, throws the brakes on real quick, loses the defender, rolls to the middle, gets to the slot, gets to a scoring area with a real nice dipsy do move there, and then rips a wrist shot past Inglis for a real nice goal. Very noticeable with the puck on his stick, makes good things happen. Real good skater, maybe just a little bit light. And then another one here, I'm assuming brother Kai Nemeth, a freshman, just a real work hard, a guy that was on the PK with good effort on back checks, moving his feet, getting involved. If you're putting a ninth grader out there on the PK, you got a lot of confidence in a kid like that. And Kai Nemeth obviously showed why. Moving into another game here. I think this was the first game of the day, Friday. Heritage and Caledonia. Levi Hirschenberger for Saginaw Heritage jumped out to me in warmups. I'm like, man, this kid's got good footwork. He's got good pace. He's handling the puck real well. I mean, you can only tell so much from warmups. I get that. But right away, I was like, oh, kid's a hockey player. We got something here. A lot of purpose behind his strides. Moved with confidence. You could tell he felt comfortable on the ice. A little guy, but I think there's potential there. And that's the case for a lot of guys with Heritage. I think it's a relatively young squad. You got Riley Bamberger there, who's one of their top scorers. He's a freshman. Couple that with Hirschenberger here, and you got some pieces there to kind of build around. But Hirschenberger there on the back end moves his feet, active, negates a rush with an active stick, and then jumps into the play as an option going north. You don't see enough young defensemen do that at the high school level, engaging and getting all involved offensively in the rush. So that was encouraging to see. On the other end, Caledonia, obviously there's some usual suspects there. Your Sovas, your Hirsch, or your Esch, Lewandowski. They've got some heavy hitters, but one guy that stood out to me that I liked a lot was Bryce Mitchell, a little guy. I'm assuming a young guy. The new and improved high school hockey hub doesn't really do me a lot of favors when it comes to grades. So unfortunately, I don't know if Bryce Mitchell is a freshman or a senior. But based on what I saw, I'm assuming he's an underclassman or a younger guy, kind of in that developmental process. They're going to need that line. Who is it here? Bryce Mitchell, Rylan Baltima, Chase Gorby. I wrote about this in the blog on pdspicks.com. Caledonia is going to need that line to have a lot of success in the playoffs or to make a deep playoff run. It's going to come down to that line. Your Harmon Esches, your Ty Lewandowskis, those guys are going to get theirs and they're going to produce offense. That third line, though, of Mitchell, Baltima, Gorby has to be sound defensively, has to go out and eat up some minutes, has to go out and win offensive face-offs and keep the pressure in the other end. They don't necessarily have to produce offensively. They don't have to score to have an impact. It's about not giving a goal up in those situations. We had a saying at Stevenson, and I think a lot of coaches do too, but a 0-0 shift is a win. If you go out and you can go 0-0 with the other team, that's a win. That should be this line's motto: is go out there, have a 0-0 shift, come off the ice and feel good about what you accomplished there. If they can do that, this Caledonia team could be capable of making a very deep, very dangerous playoff run. There was an instance right out of the gate. It might have even been that third line's first or second shift of the game. Heritage scored a bit of a fluky goal, just threw one on net real quick. I think it surprised Hogue, maybe hit something. I don't remember. But it wasn't really anyone's fault, but it ends up in the back of your net, right? So it looks bad, kind of feels bad, whatever. And you could kind of see that. And again, I'm strictly reading body language, but you just kind of saw this where they're like, God dang it. Like, put us out there. We're out there for 15, 20 seconds, and then it ends up in the back of our net. And you could hear the coaches to their credit trying to rally the guys. It's all right. Get it back. Fire, trying to encourage them and get them back in the fight for that center ice face off. But that body language was just like, oh, we got an opportunity. We're out here. And then, oh, it ends up in the back of our net. Like some of those mistakes are going to happen, but it's important over the next month of hockey that line can really start to develop and build some confidence in moments like that so that come playoff time. And I think the OKC playoffs will certainly help putting them in those high pressure, high stress situations and prepare them for the MHSAA playoffs there too, because that third line is going to be key, man. Like I said, not because of offense, but if they can go out there and have strong defensive shifts, that's going to go a long way in helping some of those goal scorers do what they do as well. Caledonia could be a dangerous one there, man. Okay, a couple others here. Granville, Louis Gardine. I know I wasn't going to talk about too many guys, top guys, but Gardine has added some wrinkles to his game. He's obviously a big kid, defenseman that skates real well, plays physical, does the little things well, but he's way more involved offensively now in an impactful and meaningful way. It's not like he's trying to hot dog it and skate the puck through a bunch of guys. He's jumping up in the rush. When things are established in the zone, he's slashing to the slot and making himself a passing option, a scoring threat. At one point, this was on the penalty kill, no less. Who was it? Was it Clarkston where they were playing in game one? I'm forgetting. But opposing team catches a break on the power play, goes off, could be a one-on-one. Gardine comes back, negates the rush, breaks it up, takes the puck away, turns and wires one halfway across the rink to spring his teammate on a scoring chance on a breakaway the other way. That was a sequence that happened in 5 or 6 seconds over the course of the game. So Louis Gardine really rounding out into shape into a high level prospect there for Granville. Don't have much here, but I do want to mention him at least. Clarkston, Mike Swader. I think another young defenseman. Again, the hub's not doing me any favors there on grades, so I'm going to speculate that he's a young guy, freshman, sophomore, somewhere in there. But could be what I saw in Swader last weekend is what I saw in Ryan Wilford last year at the MIHL showcase. Maybe Swader is that guy waiting in the wings for next year and beyond for Clarkston in the future on the back end. Real promising, real nice skill set. Obviously not their number one or number two there on the back end, but tons of potential with a chance to step into a larger role in the future. Big Rapids, Holden Foose. Wow. Big kid, athletic. Reminds me a lot of Cully Hayes from Escanaba. And what I mean by that is, like I said, he's big, he's athletic, he moves really well, he looks the part in net. But then when you see his numbers, you're a little thrown off. You're like, wow, how does he have a goals against north of 3 and a save percentage below 90%? I think he's a guy you got to read past the numbers with. And again, that's how I felt about Cully Hayes for the last couple of years. Don't judge these guys based off of their numbers. Judge them based off of their performance on the ice. I think that's Foose for me too. Albeit I will say some unusual goaltending numbers there in Big Rapids. I don't know what that's about. Foose is 2, and then the backup there was number 17. So kind of odd there. But Brody Ozowski was buzzing around for them offensively a bit too. Chases a puck down and then centers it out in front for a nice chance. Him and Wyatt Welch are a real nice 1-2 punch there for the Cards. Welch had a pretty decent skill set as well. Generated a good amount of chances there for Big Rapids, I thought, all weekend long. A couple others here. I don't even know that I'm halfway through my notes here, by the way. So you guys better buckle up, settle in. This may be a pretty lengthy podcast episode here. Chip Valley. A lot of nice sequences for Chip Valley, I thought. A couple bang, bang, bang plays. A lot of one-touch passes leading to scoring opportunities the other way. Breakouts, trips through the neutral zone. Like I said, offensively, it felt like a bit of a tic-tac-toe to set someone up there on the back door. To me, that's signs of good chemistry. Guys who have been playing together a long time. I don't know that there's any one individual player as an opposing coach that I'd feel threatened by or scared or need to game plan around. But the team as a whole just plays good as a unit. And like I said, that chemistry goes a long way when you know when and where your teammate is going to be at a spot on the ice, and you can put pucks in a place where he can make a play. Caleb Peterson, no relation. Not my brother. Hell, he's probably closer to being my kid than my brother, but no relation there. But did want to mention, very interesting there in the lineup. 4 points on the weekend. Skated a ton with the puck. I'd like to see more of a motor without it, though. He's one, again, he's not their leading scorer, not their top threat, but he sure looked like it this past weekend. Don't know if he had a hat trick, but I believe he had goals in both games up there this past weekend. Howell, you guys are going to love this. Bit of an unusual one. There's so much talent there for Howell. The top two lines, you could argue, are the best six in all of high school hockey right now. But there was a guy, Michael Myberger, little guy, role player for them, depth guy, right? But I liked him a lot. I thought he had a really nice weekend. I had notes on him in both of Howell's games. That's how much he stood out to me. Just around the play a lot, doing the little things, moving his feet, jumping off draws. Those are things that aren't necessarily going to get you on the score sheet, but they are going to get you and keep you in the lineup. And I just thought he had a really nice weekend and didn't want him to get lost in the shuffle of how many stud Highlanders are on that team, from Escola, Pietola, Storm, Sturos, Wolf. Like, there's too many weapons in that offense, right? But I thought Myberger there had a real nice weekend for the Highlanders. Other side of that game, Alpena, Clark Weir, he is the Alpena's leading scorer, but if you ask most coaches around the state, the first name out of their mouth is going to be Winterstein in that lineup. Weir, 2 goals late in that game against Howell to pull the team within 1 and then to tie it late, I believe, shorthanded. A lot of adversity there for the Wildcats, and Weir was at the forefront, battling and willing his team back into the game there. Made it 4-3, made it 4-4. There was a sequence, though, towards the end of that game. It was still 4-3, so Alpena still chasing the lead. A sequence in the defensive zone. You had Weir, you had Nolan Paris, you had Trey Adrian, all stacked up in the house in front of the goalie, all almost competing with each other to try and block a shot from the point. I loved that effort, that desperation. Late in the game, you're chasing the lead, like I said, trying to get yourselves back into it, and you got 3 guys diving in front of this puck like it's Mighty Ducks D2, was it D2, D3? What year were they at the anyways? Diving, trying to block these shots with their chest, right? Like it was inspiring there. So I loved to see that. Wanted to make note there because those were guys putting their bodies on the line, trying to keep their team in the game, and that's a great sign for postseason success, right? I've been saying that a lot about Alpena. It's not about the wins and losses. It's about how you play these games. And when you're doing that type of stuff in a matchup with a top 5 team in the state, that's going to bode really well. So I love guys putting the body on the line there. A couple others here. Bay City, Louis Adair, pretty flashy coming from the back end. He can push the back end and real nice skates. But too much sometimes. Sometimes maybe need to simplify just a little bit there. And that's the case with a couple defensemen that I noticed this weekend, where you have the simple play. You got the guy 10, 15 feet off. You got the winger on the half wall. Bump it to him and then join the rush. Keep things moving. And a lot of defensemen sometimes try to grip the stick a little too tight. And instead of making that simple play, then try to headman the puck and skate themselves into trouble and maybe force a blue line turnover or something like that. So Louis Adair, certainly capable, real nice skill set. Saw him jumping into passing lanes and kind of baiting opposition into some of those long passes too. And he's playing passing lanes aggressively there. Cade DeRussell, big kid, good sized kid, heavy shot. A little bit passive defensively, though. I'd like to see him maybe buckle down a little bit and be a little harder to play against in open space along the half walls, things like that. Because he is so dangerous offensively, I'd like to see him be a weapon defensively as well. Byron Center, transition game, both ways, offensively and defensively, super stellar. I believe their first game was against Eisenhower and gave Ike tons of fits when they were trying to come out of their zone. BC intercepting passes, breaking up intercepting passes, breaking up passing lanes, things like that. Uh, Bulldogs were really good defensively and in transition. And like I said, both ways where they weren't just negating Eisenhower's pressure coming onto them, but also forcing the issue and pushing the pace going north as well. I thought, to be honest, I have it in my notes here. Game would have been over in the first period if it wasn't for Connor Holmes. Kid played great. I mentioned that in the blog in pdspicks.com. If you took the goals away, I think 10 out of 10 people would have said Byron Center significantly outplayed Ike. But Ike was the one to come away with a 4-1 win in that matchup. And I think Connor Holmes was largely the reason there because BC generated plenty of shots, plenty of opportunities. I think outshot, outchanced, outpossessed Eisenhower, but it was Holmes standing tall there and getting Ike a big win over a ranked opponent on what would have been Friday night. Marquette, you guys have heard me talk about Marquette. So I love Marquette. And there's a lot of players on that team that I love the way that team plays as a whole. I could binge watch their season, the way they play hockey. The forecheck, the skill, the way they move the puck, some of the scoring opportunities that they generate really is a thing of beauty and fun to watch. And you've heard me talk about a lot of the main usual suspects there for the Sentinels, but Caleb Aho was a bit of a new name for me. Real good motor, stops and starts on the puck. I love to see that. That is fantastic as a coach, right? Supporting the play. I believe he was playing center. I'm kind of caught off guard here a little bit, but nonetheless, supporting the play throughout the rink, the stops and starts, that's going to jump out to you sitting in the stands. Trey Savola, another guy flying back I wrote forecheck, but it's got to be back check. Flying back on a back check, wheels and then leads the charge the other way offensively. So doing it at both ends of the rink. Decent size, good frame, with a good motor, and then he's playing passing lanes as well. Those are two guys for Marquette that I hadn't made note of or made mention of in the past that made some very distinguishing plays that stood out to me. Bay reps, Colton Davidson had a real good move and a shot off the rush. You know, he came back and then plays the body nicely on a back check. So again, another guy doing things at both ends of the rink in a single shift. Love to see that. Joel Zasina. How about that? I got a nice little English lesson from the folks in Traverse City. Joel Zasina. How's that? Little guy on the back end, obviously, but a great motor, works hard. Love this kid's effort. I would plug him in my lineup anytime. Good effort on retrievals. Love to see that. There's no lackadaisical going back and picking up a puck behind the goal line. He's got intent and purpose behind his movements. Elliot Mason, too, super impactful there on the back end. Good size, good ability, and the effort is there. I liked the effort in general out of the Bay reps. Being in the hospitality room and talking with some of the parents from the reps following that Friday night game against Jeffers. We're kind of down, kind of deflated. We got our butts kicked 5-1. And yeah, face value, the score looks a little lopsided. But watching that game, man, the reps were generating scoring opportunities. It wasn't like the ice was slanted and the reps got outshot, 2 or 3-1. Reps played well. It's just a matter of, in my book, like I said, the effort is there. The scoring opportunities were there. It's just a matter of finishing on those opportunities. There's a couple grade A scoring opportunities I thought that they generated against a top 25 team in Jeffers. And it's like, man, if you convert on just 1 or 2 of those, it's an entirely different game down the stretch there. So, like I said, that 5-1, I'm not beating myself up over it because the way they played, in my opinion, sound defense, good defensive effort, passionate on a forecheck. You're creating some offensive chances. It's just a matter of converting them. It's not like they got their doors blown off or anything like that. Jeffers, like I mentioned, team's dangerous off the rush. You catch them in transition, and anybody can score for them. Both goals that I saw came in transition, and not always the prettiest. Sometimes broken plays, Passes getting broken up in middle ice, and then someone goes in on a breakaway or a puck off a shin guard, things like that. But the offense comes when the teams are in transition one way or another when it comes to Jeffers. Looking at, I think these were Saturday games at this point. Clarkston, when they played Trenton early on, and obviously the tenor of this game changed as it wore on. Early on, I thought Clarkston was making more of the effort play. Maybe not effort plays because the effort was there for Trenton, but maybe the detail plays is what I would say. Mikey Truby had a real nice goal off of an offensive zone faceoff where he was quick, jumping off the draw, gets to the puck first, and then rips a quick shot on net that I think just kind of surprised Trenton. But that's entirely just a detail play, right? Being ready for that faceoff, jumping off the draw, and then the time between the faceoff and the puck going in had to have been sub 5 seconds. Like it was very fast. That obviously changed as the game wore on, I think. Obviously, Trenton kind of wearing them down and pulling away as the game dragged on. But the other thing I loved out of Clarkston, again, you want to get me excited as an evaluator in the stands. You block shots, baby. Get in front of them. Eat pucks. Clarkston, tons of blocked shots early. That will completely change the game. And I know it didn't go their way here, but those are habitual traits that you're developing right now. Blocking shots, eating pucks, getting guys in the house and clogging up shooting lanes. I started seeing these blocked shots, and then I just started writing down numbers. Oh, 17 there. Oh, 2 there. 17 again. Like Drew Siding with a blocked shot. Cooper Aller. Someone else, I didn't even catch their number. There was a 12-minute mark in the first period where Wilford blocked a shot. Wilford blocked a shot. Aller blocked a shot. Wilford blocked a shot. Aller blocked another shot. In the span of like 10 minutes of game action, I saw 10 blocked shots, which can completely change the landscape of a game. One of the guys in the hospitality room was even talking about how the trainer was coming to the Clarkston bench because someone was banged up from blocking a shot. And I don't know. Maybe I'm a little sick in the head. Maybe I'm not goalie, but goalie adjacent. But I don't just love watching block shots. I love blocking shots, right? I play in my men's league and I will stand in front of shots and take them off the shin. I don't care. I love it. There's something, I don't know. If but that feeling the next day or the next week, right? You have a big, big, nasty bruise on your calf or your shin or your thigh or something, like you wear that thing as a badge of honor. And every step you take where it just feel that twinge in your leg, like, oh yeah, hurts so good. Hurts so good. I love it. I don't love just seeing guys block shots. I stand in front of them myself. Nothing gets me more excited. That's awesome. Okay, let's see here. Trenton on the other side of things. I will touch on a couple things for my Trenton guys there. Aiden Patnaud with a real nice, energetic, and engaged shift that I loved. And it wasn't just a one-off. His line scored, I think, like in the first minute of the second period there. And he might not have been directly involved in the goal. And I mean, he didn't score it, and I don't think he assisted on it either. But with that line being on the ice and generating offense, I think is huge, especially when you look at other guys like Durbin and Eccles and some of the other usual suspects in that lineup generating offense. To get goals from Patnaud's line, I think is huge because not only was it that goal, but I think he ended up scoring a goal later on in that game as well. So you're talking 2 goals, at least 2 goals from that line in particular. He was a sneaky one I liked a lot. Circling back to Marquette here, there was a real nice sequence in their game against Stevenson where my guy Sandstrom connected with Evan Matilla, and then Matilla moved it on to someone else. I missed that. I probably have to go back to Live Barn and check it out. But it was a real nice tic-tac-toe sequence that sprung a guy for a real great scoring chance. And like as gritty and nasty as this team can be on the forecheck, they do things like that too, where it's a real nice tic-tac-toe play that leaves defenders spinning like a top, trying to track the puck and follow the play. I mentioned my affinity for this team. I could literally just binge watch the season start to even if they lose. I just love the way this team plays, man. Gets me going. Chip Valley, another guy, Nolan Young, had a real nice shift at one point. Good pace with the puck. Liked what I saw out of him. Another, call it a bit of a depth guy there. He's not their go-to in the lineup, but making contributions there for Chip Valley. And I believe they battled back and tied that one against Big Rapids on Saturday. Bay Reps a second time through. Isaac Classens with a centering pass to Nolan Zasina that sprung him. Zasina ended up splitting the D there for a real nice grade A scoring chance in the second game. Forecheck, on the forecheck, this team was forcing turnovers. There was good effort on the back check. That's kind of what I was talking about a minute ago. Like the scoring chances are there, and I'm gonna I'll I think it's just more buckling down, bearing down, and really putting the pressure on yourselves to finish those plays. I don't think we're necessarily settling and like, oh, I got a good quick shot off, but like the attention and focus of those details in practice. You're going through your rep on a drill and it's a 2-on-1 or whatever it is, really dialing it in and being like, no, I am going to do everything in my power to get this puck in the net one way or the other. And if you start to put that pressure on yourself in practice, it starts bleeding into games. And then when you have those scoring opportunities, you're not worried about just getting a real good shot on net. You're worried about, I'm going to put it right underneath his left arm and hit the back of the net right there, right? Like you're starting, then you really start to shift the mindset from just generating scoring opportunities to finishing those scoring opportunities. I equate it, my little guy, we play catch all the time, right? I throw him the football and he wants to dive around and catch it. And I'll throw 15, 20 balls and he'll drop them all, right? Because he's trying to make some spectacular, weird, catch, diving catch or whatever. But the second I say, okay, if we drop this one, we're going to be all done. Well, I'll be damned if he doesn't catch every single one for the next 20 passes, right? It's just when you really twist the knife a little bit, you're make them dial it in. All right, if we don't score a goal on this rep, we're skating, right? Like put that pressure on the boys. And I think maybe, just maybe, we might start to see them capitalize on some of those opportunities down the stretch because the opportunities are there, man. Real great chances for the reps. So Jeffers in that second game, I believe it was against Caledonia, right? Brogan Turner is hard to keep track of on the rush. I mentioned Jeffers being dangerous off the rush. Brogan Turner has a way of just getting lost. In a great way for Jeffers, bad way for opposing defensemen. As a defenseman there, you're kind of tracking the play. You see him, he moves the puck, you start tracking the play, and then next thing you know, he's behind you and on the back door for a grade A scoring chance. Just kind of fluky, kind of wonky, but a great read and just feel for the offense out of Turner there. They just didn't have an answer for Hogue in net. Sam Hogue was just incredible for Caledonia. Very similar, like I said, to BC and Ike the day before. Good goaltending and timely goal scoring the other way. Turner didn't really have much room to operate either. He had some chances, and Hogue was there to stand tall and make some big saves. But Caledonia did a really nice job of taking away time and space and clamping down on Turner. They accounted for him well, and they knew when and where he was on the ice most of the time. Like I said, Turner's a tough one to stop, and sometimes you lose him. But power play situations, anytime he had the puck and was carrying it, guys were quick to clamp down on him. So it was a real nice job defensively there out of Caledonia. I mentioned that third line already. Baltimore had a nice goal in that game against Jeffers. Actually proved to be the game winner, I believe, where he just wired a wrist shot bar down from like kind of a bad angle or a fluky angle. And they've got some finishers, man. They got some guys who can score, and they don't need a lot of run time. They don't need to forecheck the hell out of you, cycle the puck, tic-tac-toe, move it around the zone. They got guys who can strike relatively quickly. They don't need a big window to finish there. So, okay, last couple here. Hartland effort, guys. I loved the way Hartland looked. Very reminiscent to Stevenson last year, where they've got a couple top guys. Ian Evans is like an Owen Hall from last year. You've got some guys on the back end. that are reminiscent of what Stevenson had. You got good goaltending, obviously, but it's just effort plays. Hard work on a forecheck, winning 50-50 pucks. It's not a lot of flash and dash and skill ya to death out of the Eagles. Braden Stevens got rewarded for jumping off draws and scoring one in tight. And it happened so fast. I think he was the only one who knew he scored for a couple seconds there. He's celebrating, and everybody else was like, "Oh yeah, I guess that did go in." Um, so that was great. Ben Watrapont had his motor going. He looked good. Brady Omedian, great pursuit of the puck in all three zones. Those aren't your usual suspects right there for Hartland, but that team as a whole, man, love the way they played and very different than your Howells that I'll get into here in a second too. But yeah, I just loved the way they played. It would be a hard one to game plan for because they do have top threats, Bogatitas. They've got some dangerous goal scorers, but man, it's all three lines for them. It's every defenseman in the lineup. And then I think they played both goalies this weekend too. And both coming away with wins. So yeah, just a real good showing for Hartland. And then last here again, Howell. I'll touch on them one more time. I'll touch on Michael Myberger again, 2 days in a row. Noticeably great energy, moving his feet, pursuing the play, not making a ton happen, but he's doing the little things that'll eventually lead to something, right? Applying pressure on a forecheck, just being in someone's face and making it hard to break out, going to the net when the play rotates up top. That's another thing not enough guys do at this level. That puck goes low to high. If it's in the corner, it goes up to your defenseman, and then you can kind of anticipate your D going D to D on the blue line. That happens. Don't just puck watch, right? Roll to the net, make yourself an option, get in the goalie's face, try to create an opportunity there. That's what Myberger was doing there too. So like I said, there's a lot to like about Howell as well, from a top prospect standpoint, things like that. But you also need guys like Myberger in the lineup too to get things done there. So, all right, well, that was literally all. That was 37 minutes of game notes from the North South Showcase. And I could probably go on and on too, but we will move on here. Obviously, if you want more on that, there's the blog on pdspicks.com. You can connect with me on social media as well, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube, if you want to chat through some hockey as well. Tons of great conversations. I probably spent as much time talking with people as I did watching games, and not just coaches, but players, parents, great conversations, former coaches as well. A lot of great conversations. A lot of people stopped me and wanted to talk hockey. Really appreciate that, and I'm always down for that. So thank you to those that spent some time with me over the weekend. Really appreciate it. Okay, we will move on here. I want to do this it'll be real quick. I updated the rankings on pdspicks.com. You can check those out. Not a lot of, this was the first time I'd updated in a couple of weeks too. I was a little overdue, coming out of the holidays. Not any huge changes. The top five remains unchanged. You got CC, Howell, Hartland, Powers, Orchard Lake. Pretty cemented there too. I don't know that could change. Cranbrook maybe could creep in there, and squeeze one of them out of the picture, but I think that's a good five for this year, and I just don't see that changing. But Cranbrook, I mentioned, is number 6 now. They're up 5 spots. Marquette is up 2 spots to number 8. Granville is back in the top 10 after a 1-month hiatus. Trenton drops 6 spots to number 14 after that losing streak there over the holiday stretch. But I'm telling you, like, they still managed to look good this past weekend. Like, Trenton is still a dangerous team. And 14 may be a little low by their standards, but I still wouldn't want to play them. I'll put it that way. I still wouldn't want to play them. Stevenson is another one that's down quite a bit. They're down to number 16 right now. Caledonia up to number 20. Is that the highest they've been this year? Yes. 20 is the highest they've been in my rankings. Like, I really liked what I saw out of that group this weekend. And then last year, my Forest Hill Central Rangers back in the top 25 after a 7-week absence from the rankings. Couple of big wins as of late. I think they beat a couple ranked opponents, including this past weekend against number 11 Ike. So you got my Rangers back with a number next to their name. All right, games of the week. Talking about teams I haven't talked about yet this season, or at least haven't talked about much so far. So I wanted to give some shine, focus on some teams, some programs, some players that I might not have touched on yet this season. I don't have games of the week up on the site this second, but I'll get that up today, Wednesday, time of taping. And if you hurry, because games start Thursday, or the slate of games starts Thursday, but if you hurry, you'll be able to submit your picks on these 12 games as well. So stick with me on that. But for now, I don't have any fancy graphics. I don't have, any logos or anything like that to make my picks. We're just going to kind of run through a couple of these. But talking about teams I haven't talked about yet this season. Tomorrow, January 15th, you got Negaunee taking on Lakeshore. The Miners are 98th in the state. Lakeshore is 101. That game happens at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Expect a good amount of offense in this one. Both teams averaging north of 6.5 total goals scored per game. Badgers have won 4 of their last 5 and just played Genesee tough. That'd be a tough game for the Badgers there. Negaunee with a way tougher schedule. They've played Marquette. They've played Jeffers twice. They played Sparta, just played Plymouth tough. I think it was a 2-0 game. I'm actually going to take the Miners on the road there to get the win over Lakeshore. Another one here for you. L'Anse Creuse Unified, 88th in the state, taking on Grosse Pointe South, who's 81st. 2 teams in the 80s. They play at 6:30 tomorrow. Grosse Pointe South has won 1 game since week 1 of the high school hockey season. Meanwhile, LCU is on a 6-game heater that put them over the 500 mark for the first time this season. 13 of Will Gerzenia's team-leading 18 points have come in non-MIHL games, though, and this being a non-league game, Blue Devils average almost a full goal more in out-of-league games, too, than they do in MIHL action. So I'm actually going to take Grosse Pointe South here in this tough one with L'Anse Creuse. Excuse me. January 16th, we get into Friday's slate of games. Grosse Pointe North. We just talked about South. We'll get into a North matchup here. Takes on North Oakland. These 2 teams are separated by 11 spots on my hockey rankings. They play at 8:15. Is that right? Or is this a 15th? Is this on the 15th? Do I have this on the wrong day? Anyway, Grosse Pointe North has produced against just about everyone they've played. Including Saline, scored, I believe, 2 goals on Jack Dirksen. They also scored against Marysville. Those are 2 teams that should have been heavily favored against a Grosse Pointe North. They've got 4 guys in double digits for goals. You got Charlie Muller, Brandon Jarvis, Aiden Burney, Brandon Schock. All those guys have reached the 10-goal mark. I expect them to do it here as well, and being involved in the offense, I think the Norsemen all the way here over North Oakland. Farmington United, 105th in the state, taking on Hudsonville, ranked 80th. They play at 4 p.m., a little matinee game on Friday. Gotta love that. My Hudsonville Eagles, by the way. I see you guys blowing up my social media all the time. I get the notifications. I see you, boys. I see you over there on the west side. But they haven't won a game in the new year yet. Farmington hasn't either, but Farmington's just 0-1 so far. So one of these 2 teams is going to win their first game of 2026. Farmington is 25 spots behind Hudsonville in the state rankings, but their top trio of Owen Sims, Brady Brink, and Connor Brink is solid. That's a trio you got to account for regardless of who they're going up against. I'd argue their top is better than Hudsonville's top, but I think it's the depth in the goaltending that gets it done for my Hudsonville Eagles in this matchup here. Another Friday game for you here. Portage and Sparta. Portage is 63rd in the state. Sparta is 55th. They play at 5 o'clock on Friday. A 6-game win streak for Sparta might get extended to 7 here if they can find another win over the Muskies. Portage gives up a lot of shots. I mean, a lot of shots. 38, 31, 47, 30, and 50 in their last 5. They yes, 50 to Mattawan. Mattawan's obviously a top 25 team, so that's tough. But 50 shots is a lot. Sparta's starting to heat up. Man, they're starting to pick it up, starting to round out. I don't know that they get back to the same form they were in last year, but there's enough residual from last year to know what it's like to taste success. And I think they're starting to get back into that groove there. A bit of a rough start to the season, but Jamison Meendering, Harrison Smith kind of rounding out into form with Trevor Serba kind of running point there for that offense. Spartans win big here, I think. Next one here for you. Grand Haven, 82nd, taking on East Side, 87th in the state. Just 5 spots separating these two teams. Don't call it an upset, all right? East Side is ranked behind Grand Haven in my hockey rankings, but I don't think they will be after this game. If Beckett Fast gets loose, and he will, Stars should cruise in this one. He's got goals in 5 of the team's 6 wins this season. I think he adds another to the stat sheet, and then we add another to the win column here as well. Stars win. East Kentwood, 118, taking on Grand Blank, who's 115. Grand Blank hasn't scored a goal in 2026, but this is 2 games, 2 shutouts both times. They played Genesee tonight, which will obviously be another tough matchup for Grand Blank there. These 2 teams played at Kentwood back in November, and Grand Blank won 5-3. So this is a nice kind of mid-season rematch here. I like Nash Ottaway and Deacon Palmbos to dish out some payback and even the season series at a game apiece in this one. Offense is starting to figure some things out there for EK. They're tough to keep off the score sheet. I'm going to take the Falcons here to get a win. Looking at Saturday, you got Wyandotte, 73rd, taking on Port Huron Northern, who's 83rd. They play at noon on Saturday. Northern's had a tough go of it in the MIHL this season. They've been outscored 41-7 in 7 league games. But I think this is where that strength of schedule really pays off. Sure, Wyandotte sits 10 spots ahead of Port Huron Northern in the statewide rankings, and Eli Harrell is the second leading scorer in the state with 43 goals. But Sawyer Kemp, Chris Herms, and the rest of that Port Huron squad are accustomed to playing a different brand of hockey than I think the Bears see on the regular. Huskies outplay, outpossess, and outchance Wyandotte in a close one that could go either way. Wyandotte just needs a little bit of an opportunity to put one in the back of your net. I think it's close, but I'm going to take Northern to win a nice non-conference win here. Gladwin takes on Big Rapids at 1:30 on Saturday as well. Big Rapids, I did, just talk about the North-South Showcase, so I'm going to keep things to a minimum here, being that these are teams talking about teams I haven't talked about yet. Jeez, couldn't fumble my way through that. Absolute coin flip. Razor thin in the rankings, obviously. Gladwin is 74. Big Rapids is 77. Eerily similar results against shared opponents as well. Both teams have played Gladwin. Both teams have played Manistee. Gladwin beat Manistee 6-2. Big Rapids beat Manistee 5-1 and 6-0. Very similar results there. They both played Tri-Valley. Gladwin lost to Tri-Valley 6-3. Big Rapids lost to Tri-Valley 5-3. So very eerily similar results there. I think they're close. I really don't want to pick this game. But based on my affinity for Holden Foose last weekend, it looks way better than the numbers suggest, man. A 3.35 goals against, an 81 save percentage. If he gets some defensive help or some support there, I think Big Rapids can pull this off. G's are coming with a heavy offensive attack. So you just need enough offense and staying out of the box. Enough defense for the Cardinals and staying out of the box. I'm cautiously going to take Foose in the Cards to hold up and have just enough to outlast Gladwin in this one. Saline and Midland, 2:30 on Saturday as well. Only Kingsford separates these two teams in the state rankings. Saline is 64th, Midland is 66th, and then you got Kingsford wedged there in the middle, who, by the way, Midland beat 5-2 last month. So Saline is the better team on paper and certainly the better goalie in Jack Dirksen. But Civic Arena is an odd place to play for outsiders. If you're not Midland or Dow, if you're not in the SVL and it's not a rink you go to a lot, I don't know. It just sets you up for off nights, I feel like. And even thinking back to my time going in there as a coach with a couple different teams, I don't know. Not to mention Midland's last few games have turned into special teams fests. I was looking at their last 2 or 3 games. They've had games of 10, 12, and 13 penalties in it. And not just for Midland, but both teams. So it's just been a special teams fest for the Chemics as of late. Anything can happen here if that's the case. I'm going to take the Chemics to win, just kind of a wonky one with a lot of power plays there on Saturday afternoon. Wreaths, Puffer, and Mona. We got the battle for Muskegon going down at 3 p.m. This is our second rematch in this week's picks. Mona won the first game 3-1 on the eve of New Year's Eve, thanks to a pair of third period goals. Now Mona is at home. Eli Habitler is on a 4-game heater. Cullen Conrad and Owen Herman are picking it up too. They say beating the same team twice in the same season is the hardest thing to do, whether it's football in the NFL, whether it's high school hockey, it doesn't matter. Beating the same team twice is hard to do. But I like the Sailors to cruise in this rematch, actually. I'm sticking with Mona for the season sweep in a decisive win there. Last one coming your way here, Rockford and Huron Valley. I've mentioned Huron Valley a little bit this week or this season, but not to this extent. So we'll spend some time here. Rockford is 30 in the state, according to my hockey rankings, and Huron Valley is 37th. Huron Valley I've had on the outside looking in of my rankings for much of the season, going all the way back to November 26th. I put them on my short list, and actually the first team out of my top 25 back there around Thanksgiving. And they've kind of remained on the fringe. A lot of people would say Rockford deserves to be in that mix as well. Rams have beaten 5 ranked opponents this season. That's incredible. Hell of a resume right there. But losses to Romeo, who's 57th in the state, losses to CC's B team, and most recently a loss to Forest Hills Northeastern, who sits at 68th in the state. Those aren't so pretty either. So it's kind of a bit of a yin and yang there for Rockford. Huron Valley is a really good test. Great test here. A team, like I said, that I've had on the bubble of my top 25 for a while. Both of these teams are in that mix. A win here would go a long way in really separating yourself from the herd. Does the winner debut in the rankings next week? Question mark? Might be kind of fun. Jonah Packard, Jackson Vollmer. Give me a reason to buy into the hype. Get it done, Rockford. Let's go. All right. That was a lot. Recapping the North-South showcase, right? We updated the rankings. All of that will be on the website as well. The picks I just ran through, we'll get that up on pdspicks.com. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I will let you know when you can make your picks. And we can go a little head-to-head action here, PD versus the public, with this week's slate. All that, much more. You guys know the drill by now. We're in the dog days of January going through it here. So hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you've made it this far. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, skate hard, have fun. I'll see you at the rink soon.